Have you ever felt like the world is too heavy for your soul? Like adulthood is some kind of cage designed to strip you of your essence? That the more you try to grow up, the more you lose something sacred inside you? Maybe you're not lazy. Maybe you're not broken. Maybe you are the eternal child. And maybe that's not as innocent as it sounds. The pure Aeternus, Latin for eternal boy, is a term Carl Jung used to describe a psychological pattern found in those who resist growing up, not out of immaturity, but out of a deep spiritual attachment to freedom, potential, and transcendence. But this attachment comes with a cost, a shadow that lingers in the form of avoidance, escapism, and emotional paralysis. The very thing that once made us luminous can slowly become the root of our suffering. The pure is not simply childish. He is often brilliant, creative, insightful, even visionary. He dreams of greatness, speaks of destiny, and burns with a passion that makes others feel dull in comparison. He may be a poet, a wanderer, a philosopher, or just someone who refuses to accept the gray routines of modern life. And yet, his life is often marked by fragmentation, isolation, and inner conflict. Why? Because the pure does not descend. He floats. He fears grounding. He avoids commitment. He flees from anything that feels final, binding, or fixed. In Jungian terms, the pure is allergic to the archetype of the senex, the old man, the structure, the responsibility. He wants the sky but refuses the soil. He craves transformation but resists the necessary suffering that precedes it. His wings are powerful, but his roots are non-existent. Let me ask you, do you start things with burning enthusiasm, only to abandon them as soon as they become ordinary? Do you dream of one day, but never quite commit to the messy process of building that someday? Do you hold on to the idea that something magical will happen if you just wait long enough, drift far enough, or think hard enough, if that resonates? Welcome to the paradox of the eternal child. The shadow of the pure isn't simply failure, it's potential that never becomes real. It's the painful awareness that you could be great, but somehow aren't. That you're meant for more, but life keeps slipping through your fingers like sand. And every day you remain suspended between now and never, you begin to wonder, is it the world that's wrong for me? Or am I just afraid to join it? But where does this pattern come from often? It's rooted in early emotional experiences. Many peers were deeply sensitive as children, perceiving the world not through logic, but through meaning. They may have idealized a parent, especially the mother, or felt smothered by overprotection, creating an unconscious rejection of the real world as hostile or limiting. The adult world became the enemy. Rules were suffocating, systems were soul-crushing, and somewhere deep inside, the psyche said, I will not become one of them. This vow, this silent rebellion turns into a life philosophy. The pure clings to a sacred longing, to stay light, free, and untouched by the compromise of adulthood. He dreams of a divine partner, a perfect purpose, a glorious future. He's often a romantic, a mystic, a seeker. But he's also often alone, confused, and stuck in cycles of self-sabotage. The most dangerous part, he hides it all under the language of meaning. The pure often says, I'm waiting for the right time, or I don't want to settle, or I'm not like the others. These statements feel noble. They sound wise. But in reality, they are often clever disguises for fear. Fear of failure, fear of responsibility, fear of being seen without the glow of potential. Because when the eternal child steps down from the clouds and into the dust of real life, he risks finding out that the divine spark was not enough. That vision must be forged into form, and forging hurts. There's a kind of spiritual arrogance in the pure, not the loud, boastful kind, but the soft superiority of someone who believes they are above the ordinary. But in refusing to descend into the world, he also refuses to mature his soul. And this, Jung warned, is where the real suffering begins. Because the archetypes demand balance. If you live too long in one pole, the other will rise to meet you. So what happens when the pure is forced to confront reality? Usually, a crisis, a breakup, a failure, a deep existential depression. Something comes to shatter the illusion that potential is enough, and it hurts deeply, because the pure has no tools for structure. He never built the muscles of discipline, perseverance, or endurance. So when the fantasy collapses, he doesn't know how to rebuild. He may fall into nihilism. Or worse, he may retreat into deeper illusion. But here lies the opportunity. The pure doesn't need to be destroyed. He needs to be initiated. Initiation doesn't mean killing the dreamer. It means anchoring him. It means learning to bring heaven down to earth. To accept that structure isn't death. It's the vessel through which spirit flows. The true task of the eternal child is not to escape the world, but to transform it with the light he carries. But that light must be tested, shaped, and grounded. The real fulfillment for the pure isn't in floating forever. It's in finding the courage to descend, to take the risk of becoming someone solid, not perfect, not grand, but real. Imagine a man who once feared routine, now creating rituals that nourish his soul. A man who once feared commitment, now gives his love fully to someone who sees him beyond his potential. A man who once avoided responsibility, now embracing it as a sacred path of growth. This is not the death of the eternal child, it's his evolution. But that journey cannot begin until the pure sees his own shadow. Until he realizes that the very thing he thought was saving him has been quietly trapping him. And maybe that's where you are now, feeling the tension between the sky and the soil, feeling the pull between potential and purpose, wanting to fly, but also needing to land. Let's talk about what happens next. The next step in this journey is not about becoming something entirely new. It's about integrating what was always there. The pure Aeternus carries within him a rare fire, a visionary spirit, a soul that remembers the divine. But without form, that fire burns no one, not even himself. It must be directed. It must be given a shape. Integration begins when the eternal child meets the inner adult, not the boring adult, not the corporate drone, but the wise builder. The one who can take dreams and lay their foundation in the world. Who says, yes, you are special. But now it's time to create, to serve, to act. But this integration won't happen all at once. The pure must first grieve the fantasy, that perfect partner that only exists in imagination, that perfect calling that would require no effort, no failure, no fear, that endless youth that kept him safe from the pain of growth. He must let these illusions die, and that death feels like betrayal, because the pure has often wrapped his entire identity around being the one who doesn't sell out, the one who stays pure, untouched by the flaws of adulthood. To become grounded feels like losing magic. But in truth, it's the beginning of becoming whole. It's the alchemy of turning air into earth, vision into manifestation, self into soul. Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. The pure must pass through that pain, not around it, not above it, through it. He must feel the ache of letting go, the terror of choosing, the discomfort of staying when it would be easier to run. That is the path of descent. And yet, there is something beautiful on the other side. When the Puer grounds himself, his light doesn't dim, it becomes radiant. No longer scattered across dozens of abandoned projects, fleeting relationships, or endless daydreams, his energy becomes focused, powerful, and magnetic. He begins to build something that lasts. And in that building, he finds joy, not the euphoric high of possibility, but the deep, satisfying peace of embodiment. He learns that commitment is not a trap, it's an anchor. That discipline is not the enemy of creativity, it's its container. That limits are not curses, they're sacred boundaries within which meaning takes form. He becomes, at last, a full human being. So, how does one begin this process? The first step is radical honesty. You must ask yourself, what am I avoiding by clinging to my potential? Where have I traded presence for fantasy? Where have I chosen possibility over participation? The second step is to choose. Not perfectly, not forever, but intentionally. Choose something or someone to commit to, an art, a relationship, a mission. Let it hold you accountable. Let it frustrate you. Let it shape you. And the third step is to stay. Stay when it's boring. Stay when it's hard. Stay when the child inside screams to run. Because in that staying, something ancient awakens. The adult soul, the grounded masculine, the wise inner guide who no longer fears the world, but walks it with presence. This is the path of the integrated man. He doesn't abandon the child within him. He honors it, but he no longer lets it drive. The eternal child becomes an advisor, not the king. The man walks with both wonder and responsibility, with vision and structure, with lightness and depth. It is no longer about avoiding the world, but about transforming it from within. And what about love? This transformation changes everything, including how we relate. The Puer often seeks a muse, an idealized other who completes his dream. But that's not love. That's projection. Real love requires presence. The grounded man no longer seeks the perfect goddess who saves him from himself. He seeks a partner he can serve, build with, struggle with, and rise with. He enters into a relationship not as a seeker of magic, but as a creator of it and purpose. The integrated Puer stops chasing the mythical one true purpose that will make life effortless. He realizes that purpose is forged, not found. It's not discovered in a flash of insight, but cultivated through devotion, through showing up day after day, letting the work refine him. He trades the illusion of ease for the reward of meaning and freedom. True freedom isn't escaping responsibility. It's choosing what to be responsible for. The mature Puer learns that limits can be liberating, that saying yes to one path opens deeper layers of experience than endless wandering ever could. He no longer floats above life. He lives it. So if you've seen yourself in these words, you're not alone. The eternal child lives in many of us, and for a time, he protects us. He shields us from systems that would numb the soul. But there comes a time when the shield becomes a cage, and the only way out is through. You must descend. But you won't be alone. Many have walked this path before you, through the valley of uncertainty, through the fire of transformation, through the birth canal of selfhood. They've left behind maps in the form of myth, psychology, poetry, and personal struggle. The journey is ancient, and your soul is ready. Ask yourself now, what are you still waiting for? That's your work. That's your portal. That's your invitation. Let go of the dream of who you might become and step into the reality of who you are becoming. And when the child in you weeps for the comfort of floating, take his hand, place your feet on the earth, and whisper, "We're safe now. We're strong enough. We're ready." Because you are. And if this resonated with you on a soul level, I want to hear your story. Where in your life are you still floating? And where are you finally ready to land? Share it in the comments. I read them all. If you found this video meaningful, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. There's more to explore together in the deep places most people fear to look. You are not alone in this labyrinth, and the path home begins now.